On today's episode, we're going to provide you a little bit of history on a place called Brady Lake that's between Kent and Ravenna, Ohio, and tell you about a local semi-pro baseball team from Ravenna called the Ravenna OKs that played ball here during the early 1900s. Then we're going to share with you a story about how this ball team converged on Brady Lake on Labor Day 1912, where none other than Cy Young was asked to come and pitch for the OKs. This is a story only few have heard, and we happen to have direct knowledge and a few pieces of memorabilia to prove it. So please join us on this episode of History and Relics. Brady Lake is an unincorporated area and former village of Portage County, Ohio, just about 40 miles southeast of Cleveland, and which has a current population of just a few hundred people. Brady Lake was named after Captain Samuel Brady, who was an Irish-American Revolutionary War officer, frontier scout, and notorious Indian fighter. He was best known for his reported jump across a gorge over the Cuyahoga River around 1780, to escape pursuing Indians in what is present-day Kent, Ohio. This jump is still remembered as Brady's Leap. Brady Lake was later developed into an amusement park and an upper-class summer resort that opened June 11, 1891, by an Alexander Kent. The site was complete with a theater, library, cottages, steamboats, a baseball diamond, and a switchback railway roller coaster. Later in its debut year, Kent sold the park to a group of spiritualists from Manaway, Ohio. The park highlighted attractions from fun new rides that matched those from Coney Island in New York to promoting seances and other spiritual agendas. By 1902, the park changed hands and became the Brady Lake Electric Park, but initiatives faltered and again the park changed hands and was purchased by the Glenn Hartman, also known as D.G. Hartman, who moved to the site from Orrville, Ohio. Hartman made huge improvements, including building a dance hall, a figure-8 roller coaster, a 100-room bathhouse. He also expanded the theater to accommodate more people. A fancy merry-go-round was built along with a billiards hall, bowling alley, photo gallery, and a penny arcade. Even vaudeville acts would perform here. Thousands were entertained. The park thrived, survived World War I, and roared into the early 1920s. Hartman continued adding top entertainment and big bands to put on shows. However, after some 20 years at the helm and following the death of his wife Minnie in 1927, Hartman sold his shares to his business partners and moved back to Orrville. Don Wilson Sr., one of Hartman's partners, rose to lead the park into its next chapter. Gertrude Ederle, the first woman to swim the English Channel, would come to swim at Brady Lake in August 1927, which drew enormous crowds. Wilson and his investors then commissioned the Wildcat, a new $60,000 roller coaster to top all others in the area. And it did. After the stock market crash of 1929, many parks throughout the country closed, but not Brady Lake. However, there were changes, such as having to tear down the park's hotel, which once hosted President William McKinley. However, 1933 marked the end of Prohibition, and thus a German beer garden was introduced to the park. And by 1937, Wilson brought in national entertainers, such as Cab Calloway, who performed Minnie the Moocher. A brand new hand-carved merry-go-round was brought in, with a Wurlitzer organ which stayed in place until the park closed. It later made its way to Knoxberry Farm in California. Bingo was growing in popularity and was huge at Brady Lake. Slowly, gambling entered the picture, including slot machines and other games that paid out cash. World War II put many of the surviving amusement parks that didn't fail under World War I out of business for good. But Brady Lake blazed through those times with the help from an interesting source. Edward Kleinman was affiliated with the Cleveland Syndicate, or otherwise known as the Cleveland Mob. For most of the 1940s, the park would be known as a gambling emporium, a hangout for gangsters, mob lawyers, and politicians, although the facade painted the picture of still being a place for family fun. By the late 1940s, Kleinman and the mob, figuratively, drained the lake of everything good, and by 1949, the last ad promoting Brady Lake ran in the local paper. Soon the buildings were abandoned, and the gates were closed. The Cleveland Syndicate moved to Vegas, and by 1961, Kleinman finally sold the remaining park property to an entity who reopened the site as an RV park and campground. James Ralph Gray was born to John A. and Mary E. Gray on December 22, 1889, in Armstrong County, Pennsylvania. The family later moved to Portage County, Ohio. Jim would later marry Sally Heller on July 1, 1912, and together they had 5 children: Walter, Ruth Louise, James Harold, Richard Arthur, and Catherine Jean. The family lived many years in Ravenna, Ohio, with the last known addresses being 838 Jones Street and 349 Elm Street. The Elm Street location is just a couple of blocks from 332 Day Street, where my grandparents, Harry and Minnie Ethel Gray, lived. That's right, Harry Gray. James was Harry's older brother. Jim worked as a molder at the Browning Foundry Company, located on North Diamond Street in Ravenna. The company was founded in the early 1900s and closed sometime in the 1920s. Castings made from the foundry were used in France during World War I. One of Jim's favorite pastimes was playing baseball with the Ravenna OKs, a semi-pro team. He started playing with the OKs beginning in 1912 at the age of 18. World War I began in 1914, and the team was pretty much dismantled by the end of the war in 1918. However, he was a fan favorite in Ravenna well into the 1930s. Jim was a pitcher and an occasional outfielder for the team. He should have been in the majors, but reports have it that he turned down such opportunities due to family obligations. Reports also have it that he blamed a pesky sore arm that bothered him most of his semi-pro years as a reason for not advancing to the majors. The Record Carrier newspaper, via reporter A.R. Securo, did an interview and article on Jim Gray and teammate Cy Brutzel, which was published on Wednesday, June 15, 1966. The two former teammates stated that they had played against some of the very best clubs in Northeast Ohio, most of which had some big league players on their rosters, and commented that the OKs had actually beat many of them. In the newspaper article, Rutzel also praised Jim's pitching. He said that Gray had wonderful control, a fastball that jumped and a sharp breaking curve that completely fooled batters. Gray seldom threw one down the middle that didn't hook inside around the batter's shoulders. Gray was also described as being tough as nails, with big hands, lean fingers, that enabled him to easily grip the ball, aiding him in success as a pitcher. During his stint with Ravenna, he definitely rubbed elbows with some greats of the game, who would one day be major leaguers and eventual Hall of Famers. In the Record Courier article, Jim recalled one Northeastern Ohio team, the Akron Silent Athletics, who had a lot of minor league talent, including the Sisler brothers. Seib also recollected that his brother Cletus, or Clete Rutzel, once had a tryout offer from the Chicago Cubs, but turned down the offer in favor of college. Clete would later become a prestigious attorney in Akron and founder of the firm Rutzel and Andrus, now known simply as Rutzel. Cy further recalled one such game he referred to as a heartbreaking loss for Cleat, suffered at the hands of the Barberton Babcock-Wilcox team in a 1-0 match with George Sisler, where Cy remembered Sisler striking out 19 while his brother whiffed 18. George Harold Sisler was born in the unincorporated hamlet of Manchester, now part of the city of New Franklin, a suburb of Akron, Ohio, in 1893. In 1911, Sisler signed a contract with the Pittsburgh Pirates to play minor league baseball in the Ohio-Pennsylvania League, but never played for them nor earned any money. Rather, the deal with Pittsburgh would be a stormy relationship that ended up in a major dispute. In the meantime, he continued to play on a semi-pro industrial league team in Akron, and later played college ball for the University of Michigan under coach Branch Rickey, while earning a degree in mechanical engineering. As a freshman pitcher in Michigan, Sisler struck out 20 batters in 7 innings during a 1912 game. He lettered in baseball from 1913 to 1915. Sisler entered the major leagues as a pitcher for the St. Louis Browns in 1915. He broke Ty Cobb's 1911 record for hits in a single season, which stood until Ichiro Suzuki broke the record with 262 hits in 2004. In 1922, Sisler hit safely in 41 consecutive games, an American League record that stood until Joe DiMaggio broke it in 1941. Sisler's .420 batting average is the third highest in the 20th century, surpassed only by Roger Hornsby's .424 in 1924 and Nap LaHoy's .426 in 1901. Also, in 1922, Sisler was chosen as the American League's most valuable player that year, the first year an official league award was given. In 1939, he became one of the first entrants elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Young played for many amateur baseball leagues during his youth, including a semi-pro Carrollton team in 1888. Young pitched and played second base. The first box score known containing the name Young came from that season. In that game, Young played first base and had 3 hits in 3 at-bats. After the season, Young received an offer to play for the minor league Canton team, which started his professional career. In 1890, he played professionally for the Cleveland Spiders. After 8 years with the Spiders, Young was moved to St. Louis in 1899. After 2 years there, he jumped to the newly created American League, joining the Boston franchise. He helped win the World Series in 1903 before he was traded back to the Cleveland Naps in 1909. In September 1911, he spent the final 2 months of his career with the Boston Rustlers. In 1913, Cy Young served as manager of the Cleveland Green Sox of the Federal League, which was at the time an outlaw minor league team. However, he never worked in pro baseball after that. In 1937, he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, and by 1940, Young's only source of income was stock dividends of $300 per year, or about $5,200 today. On November 4, 1955, Young died at the age of 88. He is buried in Paoli, Ohio. 1 year after Young's death, the Cy Young Award was created to honor each previous season's best pitcher. Young still holds the major league records for most career innings pitched at 7,356, most career games started at 815, and most complete games at 749. He also retired with 316 losses, the most in MLB history. Young's 76 career shutouts are 4th all-time. He also won at least 30 games in a season 5 times, with 10 other seasons of 20 or more wins. In addition, Young pitched 3 no-hitters, including the 3rd perfect game in baseball history and the 1st in baseball's modern era. After his retirement, Young returned to his home and farm in New Commercetown, Ohio, which is about 80 miles south of Brady Lake. Young took part in many baseball events after his retirement and even scouted for the Boston Braves. One such event was a Labor Day doubleheader played at Brady Lake with the Ravenna OKs in 1912. Now, the 1966 Record Courier article cites it as being in 1913, but we know it to be in 1912. Cy Young was called up and asked to pitch for the OKs, which he agreed to do. He showed up wearing his Boston uniform. Young pitched for 3 innings against the Alliance Independents, then switched to first base. Young was paid a grand sum of $25 for his appearance, which is roughly $615 today. The games attracted thousands. Streetcars were not able to keep up with the demands of the crowds. It turned out to be a splendid day for Brady Lake owners and managers, and it turned out to be one of the most successful days that year. This is the original team photo of the Ravenna OKs and Cy Young in his Boston uniform that was taken at the Labor Day game. However, Jim Gray is not in the photo. Now, Jim had just joined the team in 1912, but it's unclear exactly when. As we noted earlier, he had also just gotten married on July 1st of that year, and it's very plausible that he missed this Labor Day game to be with his new bride, and is why he's not in this photo, which further explains why Cy Young would have been asked to be a guest pitcher. Examining this photo closer, you can see some buildings in the background to your left, but it's unclear if these same buildings exist today at Brady Lake. However, in looking at the team photo from 1914, you can see some other Brady Lake homes in the background, which we were able to confirm are still there today. Take a look at some of these most recent photos. Looking again at this same photo, we try to pinpoint exactly where this original photo was taken. The arrow shows our best guess. Based on the angle of the original photo, here are those same houses today. Jim Gray passed away just a little over 3 years after the 1966 Record Courier article was published, on September 22, 1969. He is buried with his wife Sally in Maple Grove Cemetery in Ravenna, Ohio. His brother and my grandparents, Harry and Minnie Ethel Gray, later joined him there after they passed in 1979 and 1985. If it wasn't for this 1966 Record Courier article being kept in the family, we might never have known this story or been able to even confirm who the baseball team was or even where the 1912 photo was taken. This, along with some great archives from the Kent Tribune as well as the Kent and Portage County Historical Societies, were all a great help to us. We are currently on the hunt for items and relics from the Ravenna OKs baseball team, and especially any uniforms, baseball bats, or other photographs. If you have any such items or know their whereabouts, we want to talk to you, so please contact us.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed our program. If you like our content, we ask that you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It costs nothing but means a lot to us and keeps us growing. You may also leave us a tip if you choose. A link is provided here on your screen as well as in the description area below. And until next time, everyone, this one is history.